Our focus is on the crisis rocking the Ogun State chapter of the PDP, what really is going on after the gubernatorial primaries happened. There seems to be having a crisis that happened in the party. And we have joining us Segun Seriki, the PDP senatorial candidate of the Ogun State PDP. Good morning. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
Thank you very much.
Now, let's begin from the very beginning. What really is going on there? How did this crisis, begin, or how did it begin in the first place? What happened?
Thank you very much. Quite frankly, the crisis is an event that has been waiting to happen.
So it wasn't as a result of the primaries?
No, because we just do things in this country without solving problems, without following processes. We provide regulations, we provide guidelines, not to be followed, but to be applied in the bush. You see, we've been in this crisis since 2016.
Oh.
And in 2016, it's basically a battle for entrenchment of internal democracy in our political parties. You see, when you say the national oversees the state, you will not expect the national to go and do what Congress is in Adaziani in Anambra State or in Ijebugo in my own village. You see, and the constitutions of the parties are very clear. They have ward, they have local government, they have state, and they have the national. They are ward congresses, they are state, local government, and the likes. And the functions of each of those layers are clearly stated.
Right.
There is no position in the constitution of any party in Nigeria where the national is made the headmaster. I stand to be corrected.
So we have headmaster politics now
in Nigeria, and it's all over. The national just decides to want to make you a governor, and they work to the answer over years. And they line up people to justify the fraud. So when you resist, it becomes difficult to their own end goal. So what actually happened in Ogun State is that ab initio, after the congresses, the ward ESCOs emerged, local government ESCOs emerged, state ESCO emerged, the national, in their eminence, decided to create another set of ESCOs amenable to a particular person they want to install as governor 3-4 years ahead of the primaries.
So this happened when? 2016?
2016.
But you have a different ESCO now.
No. You see, that happened in 2016, and that led to litigations. People who didn't want their rights eroded, people who didn't want them to just be showcased for fraudulent democracy, they challenged it. That led to the Buba judgment. Wherein the Buba, Justice Buba of the High Court, looked into the scenario and couldn't see where the national is the headmaster. And this thing is happening all over Nigeria, but a lot of them are not as lucky as Ogun State to have fought for their rights at the appropriate time. So the judgment given by Buba was to the effect that if the state, the national, cannot allow the state to operate within the constitution of the party that brings all of us together, then INEC should recognize the Ogun State ESCO to the level of the functions guaranteed by constitution of the party for them to do. And what are these functions? The functions are do Congress. You don't need the national to do House of Assembly Congress, for instance. What we need the national is for them just to transmit the correct candidates, but they don't do so. Right. You don't need the national to conduct the gubernatorial primaries. They only monitor. They send 5 people. That cannot be conducting. So they are supposed to do what is right by sending the correct name. But more often than not, you are in the country when they did the Amechi scenario. Amechi contested and won primaries. But some people at the national said they don't want him.
Abasanjo said get K-leg.
You see, when you get K-leg in a democratic setup, aside of military, it becomes funny.
But
and yes, and that is the problem with Ogun State. So after the judgment, the national refused to obey the judgment. And it might interest you that about 5 judgments after that were instituted by the national. And
yes.
they lost in all the instances, and they stay adamant. After the judgment, they went to appeal court, they lost. After the judgment, they went to Supreme Court, they lost. So they still persisted until 2019. They still went to court that their own predetermined candidate emanating.
You kept using shadowy language. Who are these people?
Right.
Well, I am persuaded not to be mentioning name initially, but these are facts.
No, you have to mention
the truth of the matter is that the national ESCO of Uche Secondus that succeeded McCarthy, decided to install Ladi Adebutu as their governor.
Yes.
And a lot of us are giving Adebutu the wise counsel. Now, you see, you didn't need this fraud to represent your people. You can work within the party and have the dominant group and win a primary. But instead of constituting his campaign organization, they turned his campaign organization into the party from ward to local government. And that was why we led to the Abubakar judgment in 2019. The Justice Abubakar of the Abeokuta Court looked into the matter and was amazed how people can flagrantly disobey judgment of Nigeria.
But the sense this man, Ayu's executive is now also intervening.
No, you see, the problem with this country is that we are rotting from the top. We had expected Ayu, given the assumed credentials, to look into issues and be dictated by logic. But he also fell into the arrangement. You see, and that's why when folktales say they bribe people, a lot of us tend not to believe. But indications show what could have been otherwise. Are you saying that
they bribed the new executive? That's an innuendo.
Yes, the truth is, people are, if I'm
the money is changing hands. Remember that Ayu has been.
That's the way.
I just denied. He didn't even deny directly about
the
money, 1 billion naira from that was given to him in Lagos.
As I sit here, if somebody alleges that you have taken 1 billion naira, and if you deny, I'll tell everybody who gave me, I will be interested in itemizing my denial, not global denial and global laughter as if nothing happened. You see, we see problem, and we see indications that our leadership is deficient, but we gloss over it and say maybe it's not fair or whatever, and that's why we are in this problem. So a priori, when Ayu came in, I personally had written him.
Okay. The message because I wanted to know the level of engagement you had.
Their judgments.
Right.
Not only that, their judgment in 2019 that validated the correct ESCO to do primaries, and the people contested. After the contest, you are still not satisfied. Uche Secondus was not satisfied. He approached the court, and that led to the Mohammed judgment, where Mohammed was amazed that, look, he was even advising them in the judgment that, look, if you want to correct this thing, don't disobey. Go and challenge it properly. And they did not challenge it. And in all of this, all these suits have been lying there unappealed. Yes, and they continued just doing what they want, as if Nigeria is a banana republic. You see, we have responsibility to fall in line, our leaders.
Well, from 2016, it's been difficult to make them fall in line.
That is why we are relentless. And it's a national issue. It's a national sacrifice. A lot of us, some of us are not desperate for position. I have been outside position for over 30 years after the Third Republic, of which I was a member of the Congress. Well, you can do a lot of things outside being in government. But we are now bothered because those in power, those in government are narrowing down the area of profitable jobs. That about the only profitable job now is for you to go and be in government. That is ridiculous. We can't continue this madness.
So what is going to go on now with Adebutu? Because Adebutu feels that he's the reigning king. But then there's a question about the delegates list, according to the
you know the unfortunate thing, and that's why it's laughable. After constituting an unlawful set of ESCOs, an unlawful set of delegates, a young man came within 2 months, and all the pile of lies that Adebutu and the National are piling together cannot even withstand the test of democracy.
Who is a young man?
Oh, Jimmy Lawal came.
Yes.
But you see, that one also went to the, because you have a tendency to believe National is correct. And whereas the National is the problem of the party. In their own script, they cannot score. So they had to chase their own delegates away so that they can have a cooked up primary for him. So it shows that it is a fundamental issue of democracy. If you write list of people and somebody come and join you that, yes, I'm a Democrat, I want to contest with you on your own list, and there's still a problem. And if you go into Ogun State today, over 30 cases emanated from the fraudulent and unlawful primaries the National conducted.
What is it about the state that is making it so challenging to arrive or have some sort of internal democratic system in the party? What is it about this state that we're having all of these issues?
What is about Ogun State is that they are highly educated and they are aware of their rights and they cannot suffer fools gladly. That is the problem. A lot of these things are happening effortlessly. Let's take, for instance, Lagos State. The gubernatorial candidate of PDP in Lagos State was predetermined. But maybe it worked. It was predetermined before you joined the party. That can't be democracy. There were people in that party. There were structures in that party.
What happened in the...
It's happening all over the country.
What is happening in Ogun State is now being compared to what happened in Rivers and Zamfara. That you guys may not even have a candidate.
And that is the problem with this country. And that is the problem that will bring us to a naira becoming 10,000 to $1. We want solution without logic. We should be able to solve problems to move forward. We have been moving forward without solution to problems all these years. Where has it landed us? If there's nothing wrong in the Zamfara situation, because fundamentally, if somebody did not say, I am tired, the blacks won't be liberated in America. They will just be saying, let us tolerate the whites. Let us manage them. For how long are we going to manage this kind of a thing?
Oppression.
You are getting my point. So we are looking for solution. Solution must include doing the right thing.
But what about the issue of delegates list? How are you going to resolve it?
Yeah, you see, that's where judiciary comes into play. You see, the judiciary, with due respect, they sometimes confuse themselves. You cannot be talking about infractions from an unlawful process. There is an unlawful process. Then you are talking about infractions inside it. It's of no meaning. It's like putting something on nothing. All the primaries and congresses conducted by National were clearly stated in sequential judgments of courts of competent jurisdiction in Nigeria that they should not be done. As lately as 2020, Justice Mohammed advised National, don't go to Ogun State. Do your fraud in other places on the pretext that you are National. If they are reasonable, they should have just left that which is within the capture of the law.
But it doesn't seem that there's a solution inside, because if you don't take care of the ESCO, you can't take care of delegates list, and you can't take care of primaries.
There's a solution inside because the judgment creditor were not timid. You understand my point? The ESCO that were lawful kept on doing their responsibility as prescribed by the constitution of the party, waiting for this day to join issue with them. Not that when things are late, they will have said, this ESCO should have done this ESCO should have done. They did all things necessary. It could interest you that a lawful ESCO instituted by the will of masses of the party members, were chased out of their party secretariat by Nigerian police. Is that not funny? Segun just wrote a petition to the IG that he doesn't know the people who are occupying his own secretariat in Ogun State. And the commissioner of police is on record. The commissioner of, I spoke with the commissioner of police. He said this is the petition. I read it. Segun signed it. The national chairman signed it, disowning us that he doesn't know us. And they came with a pickup of police with gun and said we should leave our party. It is as bad as that. It makes it look like South Africa apartheid.
Right. So how about this federal high court sitting that happened, that was presided over by Justice Ogun that directed the party to conduct fresh primary to nominate candidates, State House of Assembly and all of that? Where does this leave the whole situation?
With due respect to the eminent jurist, she made profound findings and confused herself in conclusion. And that's why they are in appeal. You see, we presented to her, I am the first applicant in the case. I submitted myself to the primaries as prescribed by law, as a law-abiding citizen. So I now approached her. You see, if everybody say what is not right is correct, it can make it correct. We presented before her 6 judgments of competent jurisdiction courts of Nigeria for her to enforce. She looked into the judgments and made profound findings that by the dictate and orders of these judgments, the national are precluded from conducting primaries in Ogun State, and the state are by right, by law, the rightful organ to conduct their primary in Ogun State, which is actually what the Constitution says. What we should have done is conduct this primary and send names to the national. But since we have mutual doubt, which are verifiable, which are well-founded, that the national won't do what is right, the court now said, send it to INEC. So having made those profound findings, she now went into issues that were not before her. Nobody requested for a rerun before her. Nobody thought that they were ignorant. Nobody said they should be protected. She now without cancelling a subsisting, legitimate, and legal problem.
You know why she might have said that?
No.
Because you cannot, according to the party constitution, get your candidates and send them direct to INEC. You have the NWC to approve it. This has happened before in PDP. In the case of Timipre Silva, when he ran for his second term, he did his own primaries, and they sent it to NWC, and they cancelled it.
At the NWC?
At the NWC, they cancelled it, and that's how his successor, what's his name now, became governor after him. Yeah, because they wanted, Jonathan wanted somebody else, and they got him there.
The same thing.
So if you guys...
No, our guys is not like that. Our situation is not like that. The same thing happened with Imo State.
Yeah.
When Ararume, the people of Imo loved Ararume, and the national didn't want him.
Didn't want him,
But they had not come to equity with adequate preparations. In the special instance of Ogun State, we had come with judgment. We have convinced court that this national is partisan. And the court has said INEC should take direct list from Ogun State ESCO. And that was the judgment that...
You think that can hold?
It can hold.
Because the Constitution shows that you have to be every party.
The Constitution of Nigeria?
No, the Constitution of the... I'm saying that if the matter is appealed, and I'm sure it's appealed, that don't you think that you could get to a state where they will say, no, this matter still has to go through the normal party process, that it has to go to the NWC. The same thing with APC and other parties, they have the central work, they have to coordinate at the center the list of their own candidates for the election.
You see, the malfunctioning leadership we have is making us assume that abnormality can be the norm. The situation for determination, and actually I'm interested in this particular instance how, because it looks like the judiciary itself will be on the spot.
Yeah.
If a judgment of a court of Nigeria says do something, and people in their wisdom are drawing patterns to that order of court, it's funny.
Right.
So what will happen on Thursday and Friday? The elections.
There's no
primaries.
election.
There's no primaries.
There's no primaries.
So where
Even
do we
though
go
the
from
courts
here?
have said it should
The 14 days have lapsed.
Yes.
So
Because the court ab initio, let's be honest, without being a lawyer, I've spoken with a lot of lawyers, and maybe this I have picked when I was in the university. We talk with lawyers and we talk with jurists and whatever. I think basically the issue for determination in that particular instance will have been ab initio, the judges looking at the cases, like they have about 31 cases before them. One of the cases is about which organ should conduct the primaries. The other 30 were talking about infractions about primaries conducted by the national. Having decided that the national is not entitled to conduct these primaries, going into all those 30 is a mischievous complication of the matter.
So where does this leave the whole matter? If the courts cannot
You got my point.
resolve...
Yes, the water don't pass, Gary.
If the
Yeah,
courts
because
cannot
the
resolve
judge
this...
should have actually...
We have
when I
limited
spoke
time.
to a retired judge, and he said, these are why cases are assigned by legal minds. You look at these things, okay, this 130 are like this. If they are not vested interest, they are nothing. You have discovered that all these 30 emanated from an unlawful process. Then you start sitting in judgment over the infraction of the unlawful process.
So if the courts cannot resolve this matter as
the
it
court
is
will
looking...
resolve it.
So
The court will resolve it because I've said the trial court had made profound findings.
right.
And the profound findings are to the level that there are subsisting judgments that say the state should conduct these primaries.
The basis of all of this is that there is intervention from the center that is trying to undermine the state ESCO.
Wonderful.
If they are undermining the state ESCO, then it means that the state ESCO is still subject to the National ESCO, National Working Committee.
At the end of the
if
day.
you cannot resolve that crisis between the National Working Committee and the state ESCO, you cannot resolve any matter. And the state ESCO and the National Working Committee don't seem to see eye to eye.
No,
Right, we have to go
national
now. We have
seem to resolve, they won't see eye to eye.
All right. We have to,
It's ridiculous.
It takes
we
two
have
to
to-
see each
we have
other.
to go.
If one is blind, the other can never see.
We've been speaking with Segun Seriki, the PDP senatorial candidate, Ogun State, Ogun East. And before the break, we were talking about how it is that it seems the state EXCO is not seemingly able to challenge the national with regards to all of the challenges it is having in the state. And you were trying to clear the air on that.
Yeah, thank you very much, moderator. You see, the issue is not as simplistic as for the state not to be able to submit lists to INEC. In 2019, the INEC pre that election had written the national that they are going to obey judgment of court, which stipulated that they should deal directly with Ogun State ESCO in response to candidates emanating from primaries. And that is what the Abubakar judgment dealt extensively about. Those ones are just judgments of court. It is the same thing now, because if the national is resolute in flagrant disobedience of subsisting judgments of court, we will not subordinate Nigerian judiciary to the whims and caprices of the national. Because, like I said earlier, they are the people that instigated all these suits. And if they came to court and the court gave judgment and they refused to obey the judgment, it speaks volumes about the character of people who manage our parties. And those things have been clearly stipulated in those judgments. It's not about
You were speaking now of air about the fact that in 2019 you guys ditched the National Working Committee and INEC decided that your list be taken direct to INEC, and INEC accepted it.
Yes, very correct.
Do you think that that is not an issue today because you guys didn't really win? And if you had won, the other parties will have said you guys didn't follow the normal process, because sometimes impunity can reign if impunity is not fruitful.
Yes, I like the mental imagination that you have brought into interpretation of judgments. But the fact of the case is that they did not challenge those judgments. If I were to believe that they challenged it, I can't see logic in their winning, except they are ready to obey judgments.
All right.
For as long as the national does not obey judgment, they are always acting in error. And all their efforts amounts to building fantastic edifice over nothing.
All right.
Let's before you go there,
into national issues.
You guys have just made, you are trying to make the National Working Committee and the National ECHO superfluous.
Because they are actually superfluous.
All right. I'm sure that our guest on Zoom, who is a member of the PDP Presidential Campaign Council, Oladimeji Fabiyi, would want to react to some of the things that you have raised, talking about the National EXCO or Council being super close. We have a guest in the studio, Mr. Segun Seriki, who has been reacting to certain issues with regards to Ogun State. If you can hear me, Mr. Fabiyi, can you hear me?
No.
Unfortunately, it seems he can't hear me. Well, he's reaching us from Abuja, and he's part of the PDP Presidential Campaign Council. And I would have loved for him to react to some of the things.
Because there are issues that will even interest him. The way they are handling this presidential campaign is unimaginable.
That's another thing we want to discuss.
That's why I asked, which state is he from?
Right. Well, I cannot categorically say, but he is in Abuja joining us to react to some of the issues regarding to the presidential campaigns that we have seen. It is said to have been suspended because they want to address the matters or resolve issues with Wike and his allies. And I'm wondering what you make of how this has been handled thus far.
Go
ahead.
With due respect, I think, I don't know why the national leadership is acting the way they are acting. Because by their inactions, they are making Wike super important because the guy is talking on point.
Is he?
So that means it's super important.
Yeah, because, you see, these are issues that ordinarily, I'll give you an instance. You see, I'm a founding member of PDP. And except for age, I passed to be called a founding father. All of us with Vice President Alex Akweme.
I hear Oladimeji is on the line now.
You see, they are not tuned to why we formed this party.